Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Any questions about 13? Canto 13 questions. All right. Let's run through the first 5 cantos fairly quickly, and then we talk more about any of those if you would like to. But otherwise, once we finish that, we'll continue on to more of chapter 14 and the Old Man of Crete. Inferno. Questions? Okay, Canto 1. What are some things from Canto 1 that we should be familiar with? This forest. This dark forest. Yes. We've got the beasts. Before we get to the beasts, so the dark forest, why is the dark forest relevant? Who's there? Why? Dante. Dante is in this dark forest. Why is he there? The opening of the... Hold on. Why is he in this forest? For fun? He's lost. Dante's lost in this forest. He doesn't know why. Or he doesn't remember how he got there. And then he sees something. Before he sees the beasts, what does he see? He's in this dark forest. There aren't any paths. It's frightening. And then he sees something. What does he see? He starts to go somewhere because of something that he sees before the beasts. If you've got your notes on books, Cantos 1 through 5, or you could also open up the book itself. Canto 1 starts on page 67. Even just reading these little blurbs at the beginning of each canto over again would be a good way to review. So what does Dante see when he's in this forest, before the beasts? Okay, he's in the shadows of this forest, but he sees something different. What does he see there? If you look at the blurb on page 67, if you look at your questions from Canto 1, some notes you might have. What does he see before we get to the beasts? Yes, we'll get to the 3 beasts. He sees a hill. And what's unusual about this hill? What's unusual about this hill? Dante's in this dark forest. He sees a hill. Come on, open up the book and look. Don't just sit there not knowing. Let's find these answers.
There's sunlight.
Right, the hill is lit by the light of the sun. It's bathed in sunlight. He sees this bright hill, and he starts to go towards it. We'll learn later that this is the hill of Purgatory, I believe. But he can't get up it. Why? What blocks his way? The 3 beasts. What are the 3 beasts in order?
The leopard.
Leopard. Second.
Lion.
Lion and the she-wolf. They each block his path. He can't make it up the hill. But especially the she-wolf. Now, there are a couple different ways of interpreting these. You should be familiar both with the more traditional interpretation and also our translator's interpretation. So the one that you're going to be more familiar with is the one that the translator uses. What does the translator say each of these beasts represents? Each of them represents one of the what?
She will isn't last.
So that's the more traditional interpretation. But this translator here, right, each one represents a type of sin in a section of hell, he says. And so for him, which sections of hell, which types of sins are represented by each one?
Violence.
Which one's violence? The line is violence. Sins of violence in the middle section of hell. Yes?
Concupiscence.
Concupiscence. Which one's concupiscence?
She-wolf.
The she-wolf is concupiscence or incontinence. And the leopard represents fraud. Yes. Describing the three layers of, or three major subdivisions of hell, from bottom to top, notice. And notice it's actually the least serious of these that gives Dante the most problems, the she-wolf. What's the more traditional interpretation of each of these? Each one more traditionally is associated with a particular sin rather than a type of sin. Somebody mentioned lust.
Yeah,
Which one of them is lust? Is the she-wolf, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
The she-wolf is greedy.
Yeah.
Avarice.
So, well, the lion is pride.
Lion, pride. Leopard is lust.
Yeah, the leopard is lust. And this one is avarice or greed. Because remember, the she-wolf is always hungry. You should be familiar with both of those. These ones we're obviously going to be talking about more than these ones. But you should be aware that they've also taken to represent particular sins that maybe Dante struggled with. All right. Yes. Moving along, he's blocked by these beasts, and then what does he see? What does Dante see? He can't get up the hill because of the beasts. Virgil. Who's Virgil, and why do we care?
Virgil was somebody he looked up to.
Yes. Why? Why did Dante look up to Virgil?
He admired his work.
Yes. What work?
Writing.
Yeah, what kind of writing? What did he write?
Poems.
Okay. Yes, he's a poet. From where? Yes, a Roman poet, an ancient Roman poet. What's his most famous work? You need to know the name of this work. Or the name of the main character. Not the Iliad. The Iliad is Homer. The Greek work. Starts with an A.
What's the next one? Aeneid.
Aeneid, yes. Aeneid. The Aeneid. The story of Aeneas, this Trojan prince who leaves Troy when the Greeks destroy it and goes on to found the city of Rome. He's Dante's role model. And what is he doing here in this forest? Why is Virgil in this forest? Why do we see him there? What is he going to do? Why is he there? What have we seen Virgil doing? He's going to help Dante how? Say it again?
Through the door of hell.
Right, he's going to lead Dante through hell. Why is he going to lead Dante through hell? Doesn't sound like a nice place to visit. Why are they going to do that? Why do they need to do this?
Someone asked him to bring Dante Mahal and
So in Canto 2, we'll learn a little bit more about the people who told who told Virgil to go on this mission to help Dante. But why is this mission necessary? Well, why does Dante need to go through hell and be guided through there by Virgil? This isn't really something he has a choice about. He sort of does. Well, what did we see earlier in the canto? Okay, Canto 2. Hopefully get that figured out for tomorrow. Canto 2. Virgil tells us, Dante starts to have some doubts about this journey through hell. Virgil tells him why he's there. And we'll remember the sequence of events that led to Virgil coming to Dante. Well, you can look at the summary of Canto 2 on page 79. We've got a whole sequence of people here that have been involved. Virgil's the last one.
Mary.
Starting with Mary, Mother of God, the Mary. Okay, Mary talks to Saint Lucy or Saint Lucia, who then talks to, who's Beatrice?
Dante's great love.
Yes, this woman that Dante had admired from a distance for so long. And then Beatrice goes to
Yeah.
Virgil, and then Virgil goes to Dante. Yes. And this reassures Dante. He's kind of skeptical. I mean, yes, Virgil is going to bring him on this journey, but it's a journey through hell. Yes. You get this chain of grace, notably starting with Christian saints in heaven, but going to this, but ultimately working through this pagan who's in hell. He's a permanent resident of hell. In the nice part of hell, but still. Okay, questions about Canto 2? Not a whole lot in the way of events there. All right, Canto 3, page 89. Finally going to be entering hell. What things do we see in Canto 3? What's the very opening of Canto 3? Very beginning of Canto 3 there on page 89.
The gate.
The gate of hell. They're going to go through the gate into hell. And what does Dante see at the gate of hell, or on the gate of hell? What does he see there?
This word.
What words, roughly? I mean, you don't have to tell me exactly. What's written there above the gate of hell?
He says like the hell is made for justice.
Yes,
Made by God.
made by God for the purposes of justice, but not just justice. some other things there. What are some of the other things at play here in hell besides justice? What are we reading on page 89?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. What else?
Love.
Love, justice, wisdom, and love. What is not involved in hell or not to be expected in hell? Justice, yes. Wisdom, yes. Love, even, yes. Or rather, that's why it's created out of love. But what is not there? What is not in hell?
Hope.
Hope. Abandon every hope. All you who enter. Yes. All right, so they enter through the gate. We see our first group of punished souls. What's their sin? What does their punishment look like? It's the first group of souls. It's there in the summary. It's there in the questions. It should be there in your notes or something.
The people without love doesn't believe. Yeah.
Not necessarily people who didn't believe in God.
And not about
Say it again.
they live in another place where there wasn't any God.
Oh, they're tormented by flies and hornets.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so this punishment involves these flies and these hornets stinging them and biting them. There's blood and pus dripping everywhere. What else? In addition to the flies and hornets, what else is involved in the punishment, or what are they being punished for?
Oh, they didn't choose. They didn't make a choice in life.
Right. They didn't choose between what?
Heaven or hell.
Right, between good and evil. The indecisive.
Basically, people.
They're not even really quite in hell. We haven't crossed over the first river into hell. Their punishment involves these hornets, these flies. What else is involved there? What are they doing besides being bit and stung?
Running.
They're running. Where are they running?
Nowhere.
They're running to the fire base.
Nowhere. They don't have
A distance.
they don't have a real destination. They're just chasing after this banner. Yes. And what else do they? What's another part of their punishment? They don't have what? Or we don't learn any of their what?
Their name.
Their names. Their names. They're not named, any of them. You never pick a side, so they won't be remembered. Next.
They're created by the boatman.
Right, the boatman.
Sure.
They come to the first river of hell, the Acheron, and they meet the boatman there, Charon. And his job is to bring the souls over the river into hell. What does he say when he sees Dante? How does he respond when he sees Dante?
Challenge.
He challenges him. Why?
Because he's alive.
Because he's alive and also why? Not only is Dante alive, but also...
He doesn't deserve it.
Right, he says he doesn't really... Charon doesn't come out and say this, but Virgil explains it. He doesn't think Dante belongs there. So how does Dante end up getting across the river into hell?
He gets scared.
Nope.
No, he doesn't know. We don't.
We don't know.
Oh, no,
We don't know. At the end of the canto, there's this light and this wind, and Dante passes out. And when he wakes up at the beginning of Canto 4, he's on the other side of the river. There's a mystery here in how he's able to enter hell. All right, Canto 4. Canto 4, page 97. All right, now we're in real hell. What part of hell is this? First circle, also known as limbo. Who is in limbo? And what's it like there? What did these people do to end up in hell? Why are these souls in limbo? And what's it like for them there?
They are non-Christian.
They're not Christians. There are no Christians in this circle of hell. Why? Or why are there non-Christians here? Why are there no Christians here? There are Christians in every other circle of hell. Not this one. Why?
Because they have no desire to see God.
Because what?
They have no hope in God.
Right. Why can't these souls see God?
Unbelief.
Sort of. What did they not do, or what do they not have? Not quite. Virgil tells us on page 98 what they didn't have on the second half of the page.
Oh, they didn't sin.
Okay, they didn't sin, which is why,
They didn't get that.
but they also weren't baptized. Right. So a Christian who'd been baptized, instead of going to limbo, would go where?
You know,
Sorry?
what'd you say? I was asking.
Where would a Christian go instead of limbo? So these are people who didn't sin but weren't baptized. A Christian would go either to purgatory or to heaven. But these souls are unbaptized, so they can't go to heaven. But they also didn't sin. So what's limbo like? It's not heaven, but
There's no punishment.
there's no punishment there. There's no punishment there. Yes, they don't have a hope of seeing God, but there also is a punishment. The only punishment is that they know that if things had been different, they might have been able to go to heaven, but they weren't. Yes. And so we see a lot of different figures here. There's one really important group that we'll learn about. Actually, before that, one weird thing about limbo is that limbo, unlike other parts of hell, there are people who left limbo. Dante asks about this because this is something that he's learned about, that there are souls that were in limbo and then left. but he wants to hear Virgil confirm it. He asks this on page 99. And so who are these souls that had been in limbo but now aren't anymore?
Abraham,
Abraham's one of them. Noah,
Patriarch, David, King,
David,
Israel,
Israel.
Moses.
What do these people, Moses, what do these people share in common who had been in limbo but aren't anymore?
They are in the Genesis.
Say it again.
They are in the Genesis.
A lot of them are mentioned in Genesis. Not Moses. Moses is in the next book, Exodus. Why are these people all figures in Genesis and Exodus and Kings later? What do these people share in common? They're all what?
They believe in God, but they are not baptized because there wasn't any God. I mean, it wasn't. They used not to baptize people, so.
Right. These are, what would we say they are? They're not Christians. They were what? What religion would we say these people were? They were Jews. They're Hebrews, if you want to talk about their ethnicity or their nationality. So why were they in limbo? If they, part of God's chosen people, why were they in limbo? Why didn't they go to heaven when they died? Or rather, why did they leave limbo? They went to limbo when they died. What happened? Why did they leave? It's this event that Virgil describes. It starts with an H.
Wasn't that heaven wasn't even created when they died?
Yeah, it wasn't open. Heaven was closed. They couldn't get to heaven yet. Why not? What had not yet happened? Right, Christ's death and resurrection opened up heaven and made that a possibility. So these Hebrews, these Jews from the Old Testament, who served God properly, when they died, heaven was not available. It wasn't an option yet. So when Christ dies, he goes down into limbo and brings them out. Virgil describes seeing this. It wasn't that long after he died. The harrowing of hell, it's called. Where Christ comes down and he takes all these souls, Adam, Abel, Moses, Noah, Jacob, Rachel, brings them to heaven. And this is the first time that we see the effects that Christ's death and resurrection had on hell. Over and over again, as they go through hell, we see collapsed from the earthquake when Christ died. This is the first of those that we see. The first effect on hell, breaking hell. It's partially broken because of Christ's death and resurrection. All right, and then after describing the harrowing of hell, we see some people in particular. There's a particular group that Dante and Virgil meet.
What?
There's a particular group of people that they meet here in limbo. After Virgil describes the harrowing of hell. We see them on pages 99 and 100.
This Homer,
Homer's one of them. Who else? Horace is another. Say again.
Ovid, and Lucan.
Yes, Ovid and Lucan. Who are these people? What do they share in common?
Right.
They're all poets. These pagan poets. Homer, Horace, Ovid, and Lucan. And Dante gets to speak with them. Virgil is part of this group. These are Virgil's pals here in Limbo. And Dante gets to join them briefly. Dante's opinion, the greatest of the ancient poets. Homer being the only Greek one, the other three are Latin poets. Other four, if you count Virgil. Yes. All right, and then they go on from there. They speak with them. They go to, there's a city in Limbo where there are a whole lot of other souls that are seen. A lot of them from the ancient world, from before the time of Christ, but also some from after the time of Christ. Notably, Averroes and Avicenna, these two philosophers, Saladin, these non-Christians, these Muslims who lived after the time of Christ, and whom Dante thought lived virtuous lives, but still not being baptized, unable to go higher than Limbo. All right, questions about Canto 4? Just enough time to do 5. Page 109. Canto 5. Now we're descending into the punishment part of hell. And we run into our first mythological or fantastical being here. Up to this point, everything that we've seen has been something that looks like things in the natural world. We've seen lots of people. We've seen these 3 animals. We've seen hornets and flies. But here we get our first thing that's weird. What is this first weird being that we see?
Person.
Not a normal looking person, but yes, Minos. What's weird about Minos? What does he look like? And what does he do?
He has something with a long tail.
Yes, he's got this long tail. He's a judge of the souls in hell. How does he tell them where to go in hell? Yes. Yep. However many times he wraps his tail around himself, that's what circle you go to. So it's going to be at least twice, I guess, because we've already passed the first circle of hell in Canto 4. Yes. So they pass by Minos, and Minos speaks to them briefly. What does he tell Dante? I guess Chiron is sort of a mythological figure, although he's not described as looking unhuman. He's sort of strange looking. He's got these fiery eyes. Chiron spoke to Dante. Minos speaks to Dante here. What does Minos say to Dante? He gives him some advice.
Don't trust the soul.
Yes, be careful whom you trust, what you listen to. These are damned souls, after all. They're here for a reason. Be careful. All right, so they move on into the second circle of hell, where the first part of hell itself, where we have souls being punished. What sin's being punished here? What does this punishment look like? What sin is this here? Lust. What's their punishment? What do you mean when we talk about lust, first of all?
Wrong use of sex.
Yeah, or a lack of control of sexual desires, yes. And how are they being punished for their lust? Remember, this is the first part of the sins of incontinence, of lack of self-control.
No, it's not good.
does this circle look like? We see here as we start to descend into the pit.
Nice, yeah, eternal storm.
There's a storm. And what's happening to the souls in this storm? What's happening to the souls?
They're like, they cannot stand.
They can't stand, no.
They shake from the by the storm.
They don't just get shaken, even more so. Dante compares them to what? Page 110, towards the bottom of the page. Also, it makes a similar comparison at the top of 111.
What was the question?
What are these souls doing in the storm? So there's a storm. What do the souls look like in the storm? What's happening to them in this storm?
Storm of the rest.
Yeah, the storm is. What is Dante compare them to? The bottom of 110 and the top of 111. What does he compare to these souls to that he sees here in this storm? Cranes, starlings, he says on the previous page. Those are both types of what? Cranes and starlings. Types of what? Birds. These souls are not on the ground. They're flying in this storm, being blown around. No longer able to control their movement the way that they didn't control their desires in life. There are a whole lot of names of people that Dante lists that he sees there, figures from Greek and Roman history, from medieval legend, but in particular we should pay attention to one particular story. And I spent a lot of time on the story of whom? Not Cleopatra. She gets mentioned, but who are the most important souls that we see in Canto 5 in terms of Dante's experience? Whom does he spend all his time talking to? Again, there's two of them. Who are the souls that Dante spends a long time talking to?
Yeah, Francesca and
Francesca.
Paolo, yes, Paolo and Francesca. Paolo and Francesca. What's the story there with Paolo and Francesca? Anyone give us a very quick summary here?
Paolo is Francesca's wife, which is the ugly brother. And Francesca cheats on Paolo with his brother.
Paolo's the attracted brother.
Oh,
Her husband's the ugly brother.
yeah, well, Francesca's the husband, ugly brother. She's married to the ugly brother.
Right.
And they both get killed by her husband.
Right. Yeah. So she's married to this guy who's not very good looking. Paolo's his younger, more attractive brother. She kind of seduces him, and her husband catches them in the act, kills them. So they end up in hell. He ends up in hell. It's not a good situation all around. How does Dante respond to hearing this story?
Okay.
He feels bad for them, in a very serious way. Why is that significant?
And she died.
If she doesn't tell, first of all, she doesn't tell the whole story. Second of all, she actually tells something's wrong. She blames Paolo for starting the whole thing. It was her who initiated. She blames the book that they were reading. They were reading this book of slightly dirty love stories. She blames the book and not the fact that she had this young guy, her husband's brother, come to her room and be there alone with her. Yes. So very quickly after getting this warning from Minos, Dante falls for the trap here. And he feels so bad for them that he passes out again here at the end of Canto 5. He feels so bad for them. All right. That's all we have time for. If you've got any questions, you can send me a Jupiter message, or I'll be around for a little bit after school today. Good luck on the test tomorrow. I'll see you guys not before Tuesday, otherwise.